Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head down to Belgium and we're going to have a look at a beer style that I really have not reviewed too many of actually, so I'm very curious to see how this one turns out. For this review, a huge thank you to Chris Contreras, an American dude living in Belgium that's been watching the channel for a little while. He sent me a box of a couple of German beers and then he sent me another box with a couple of Americans and lambics as well. He basically said, you know, I'd really love to see your take on some lambic beers because you've hardly reviewed any of them, and he very kindly sent me two from Fonteinen and one from Cantillon as well. Of course, very famous breweries in this style. But for this first one, we're actually going to go to Brouwerij Fonteinen, who are from Beersel, just to the southwestish of Brussels, the capital city of Belgium. So today we're going to have a taste of their Oude Geuze, which comes in at 6.3%, and this is one of these beers that is, you know, stupidly highly rated when it comes to Untappd and Rate Beer and Beer Advocate and things like that. It gets crazily good reviews on all of these different peer reviewing sites, and this is the very first Geuze beer that I'm actually going to be tasting from what I can remember. I've just never got around to actually tasting one of these beers. It's only been in the last year or two that I've really started to get into the sour beers, mainly because of Brouwerij that we have up here in Skåne in Sweden. So really looking forward to this one, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer, and a huge thank you to Chris again for making this review possible. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I'll do in the future from Brouwerij Fonteinen, and like I said, there is one more beer from these guys that you'll see me review soon, and hopefully I can add more in the future beyond that. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Belgian beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Brouwerij Fonteinen then. So Brouwerij Fonteinen can be found in Beersel in Vlaams Brabant, just a little bit to the south of the southwest, of Brussels, the capital city of Belgium. And these guys can trace their history back to the year 1883 when a Geuze facility was built by Jacobus van der Linden in his inn. So the name Dry Fonteinen is assumed to have come from the three different porcelain hand pumps that they had in the inn, which poured lambic, faro and kriek beers. So Jacobus later passed the company on to his son Jan Baptist, who also served as the mayor of Beersel between 1953 and 1958, and he later stopped the business and eventually looked for a buyer, which came in the form of Gaston de Belder and his wife Ramonde de Donker. So under their guidance, the business actually did very well, and it enjoyed a 10-year expansion period, which involved the opening of a restaurant, which you can still go and visit today. Check that part out in the brewery website in the description below. But they moved to their current location as well on Herman Terlinkplein, who, with this street of course is named after a Belgian writer who lived in Beersel from 1936, and then Gaston later passed on the brewery to his two sons Armand and Guido in 1982, and they later installed a 10 hectolitre brewery in 1998. For a period of time from 2009 they stopped brewing for almost 3 years, until October 2012 when they got their new kind of brewing apparatus fully functional and up and running. But today this brewery are producing Geuze, kriek and lambic beers. The lambic was first produced in 1999, and the Geuze is apparently blended using lambic beers from Boon, Girardin and also Lindemans, who are fairly close to Dry Fonteinen in Belgium as well. But the brewery is apparently technically called a Geustekerie, which basically means that they blend Geuze beers using both old and new lambics from other breweries as well. So these guys are one of the few breweries, from what I understand, that can be called a Geustekerie, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. As I always say with these kind of Belgian beer reviews, I do apologise if any of the French and Flemish pronunciations that I do are completely off. You know, it's difficult. You even have German speakers in Belgium as well, so mainly French and Flemish, but also a small proportion of German speakers. in the kind of southeastish part of the country as well. But yeah, a really interesting brewery, this one that has become very, very well known for their lambic beers as well. We do get some of these beers up here in Sweden, but I haven't actually bought any of them myself because, you know, I was a poor student for most of the time that I was here. But I'll keep an eye out for more of these coming through the small partiers and things like that through Systembolaget. But yeah, very, very cool to be able to review this one for you. And again, a huge thank you to Chris for making that possible. So if you want to learn a little bit more about this brewery, as always, you can check out the brewery website in the description below, and you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram and things like that, and that will keep you up to date with all the latest goings on with the brewery. So yeah, let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer itself. Then we can get rid of the brewery notes and we can actually get this beer out and on with the tasting. So, you know, it's a fairly simple style of artwork with this one. I like how this one is you know, kind of coming together. It's, you know, I have seen ones where they've got the sort of white sticker and then a green 3 in the side, so I'm wondering if they've just recently changed their artwork. And that says that this one was bottled on the 20th of December 2017, so I don't know if Chris actually had this one for a little while before he sent it up, but you know, these Belgian beers, you can age them for quite some time. And you can see also on the cork up there, it does have 1718, and there of course is one of the Brouwerij Fontainen's symbols too. So yeah, nicely presented. You can see of course it does have one of the European Union marks on the back too, which is kind of cool. But yeah, as I say, 6.3% Geuze beer, this one. This one, from what I gather, is a blend of beers that are 1 and 2 years old, and then they put it together and it undergoes a sort of secondary fermentation. That is the whole idea behind the Geuze style beer, is that it's got two beers, one slightly older than the other. Then they basically blend them together, and there you go, you've got another kind of new and interesting beer. So yeah, let's get this guy out then and we'll get on with the tasting. I'm really hoping that this one kind of comes out quite nicely. I think it should be okay. There you can see, nice little bit of smoke on the opening and a little bit of gas just trying to escape. So let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. I can smell, even from here, I'm quite far back from the beer actually, you can smell some nice sort of wheaty, kind of bready, almost slightly biscuity notes coming out of this beer, but now I can start to smell that really tart, citricy sharpness to this one too. Now, normally, some people in Belgium I think can be quite sensitive about the glassware that they use with these beers, but I always like to stick to a nice kind of tulip glass. I always like to try and keep my reviews as you know, change as little variables as possible, because it lets you focus on the beer a little bit more. But yeah, you can see with this one there was a nice kind of half finger of a frothy white head on this one. That's faded away to be a very, very thin foamy layer. 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass there, and quite a few little ones just firing up towards the bottom of that head, which looks very, very nice. I'll hold this beer up to the light. It's actually quite a bright orange, it's quite a bright yellowy colour, but it does have a kind of light orangey tint to it. It's almost the same colour as a kind of tangerine, to be honest with you, something like that. So this beer is a lovely, lovely orange colour, quite a few big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, but you can see there is quite a little bit of activity heading up towards the bottom where that head would be, which incidentally has just faded away to a very thin foamy layer. If I put my fingers behind the glass, the beer is pretty damn hazy, I have to say. So yeah, let's take a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on with this beer. That actually smells really pretty nice. So yeah, with this beer then, you can say that it's got a nice sort of bready, doughy kind of quality to it. You can really, I mean, Belgian beer for me is always, the focus of these beers is always the yeast, but it's got that nice big kind of wheaty smoothness to it, a little bit of a white bready quality. There's a little touch of a biscuity sweetness in there as well, but you can smell some of these thicker doughy notes kind of coming out of the yeast. There's maybe a little touch of a kind of grainy note to it as well. It's almost, it's not, is there a little bit of pepper or something in there? I don't think quite, maybe there is a little touch of pepper in there. This beer does have just a little tiny, almost kind of spicy edge to it, but there's almost a sort of woody kind of element as well, which is interesting. I like the sort of woody edge to it, and it just gives the beer a little touch more kind of complexity. It's a woody sort of grainy type thing. So there's a lot of complexity actually in the sort of malty side of this beer. On the hoppy side of things, you can pick up that there's a little grassy edge to it, and of course you've got a little bit of that citricy tartness that you would expect of, pardon me, you know, of pretty much any sour beer. So for me, it's quite, it's got an almost orchardy kind of appley. Yeah, it's got a bit of that lemon, you know, that almost lemony, sharp, tart thing that you expect of any of these kind of sour yeasts. But at the same time, it's got sort of peary, appley kind of ester aspect to it as well. So it's really quite interesting. I have to admit, when I saw that this beer was going to be a blend, I would have expected something a hell of a lot darker. You know, if someone had asked me what colour I would think a Geuze would be, you know, I would have thought it was a far more deep orange colour than it is, you know, almost bordering on the kind of mahogany type quality. Yeah, so it's yeah, you know, it's a really interesting one, this. Not what I expected at all. You could see in the bottle, in fairness, that it was going to be a lighter colour, but the main thing, of course, the colour isn't too important. It's more about what the beer actually tastes like. But the aroma of this one certainly has got me very interested. It's a lot more grainy and biscuity and doughy and yeasty and things than I was expecting. I thought it would be quite more sharp in terms of the you know, in terms of the likes of the grassy and citricy kind of notes there. But to be honest, the aroma of this one's a very interesting blend of different things. It's got a lot of nice kind of subtleties to it as well. So as I always say, take a little bit of time and just enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck in. But this is one of the great things about Belgian beers, the yeast kind of forwardness, or the yeast focus that you get in these beers always throws up something that is very, very interesting. So let's take a taste of this one and just see how we get on then. So a huge thank you once again to Chris Contreras for making this review possible. This one is the Oude Geuze, the edition from 2017-2018 from what I gather, from Brouwerij, Fonteinen, just in Beersel out to the southwest of Brussels. Let's get stuck in. Slange, Skål, Santé, Proust. Oh yeah. Ooh. It's got a little bit of a kind of puckering quality to it in the beginning, but you always get that with sour beers. You know, you have to let your mouth adjust to the sourness there, but this one does have a good bit of a kind of sharp kick, if you like, when you take it in. But when it smooths out, for me, a lot of the thing with the sour beers is, one of the things that it really kind of turns me on or turns me off with these beers is when you have the it really, for me, is all about the way it smooths out and the aftertaste you get from them. I think the sour beers, it's all about the aftertaste. But yeah, that's really nice actually. I think they've done a nice job with this. And I think, pardon me, I do think it's quite funny with these, that you get these breweries that are very, very prominent, but they're using other breweries' beers to make their own product, if you like. It's kind of interesting actually, and it shows you how all these little breweries are reliant on each other, to be honest with you. I just noticed another thing there. It says that you can actually age this beer until 2037. So, you know, I could have kept this beer for another 18 years or something like that. But yeah, this one, to me, it's one of these ones that smooths out really, really nicely, and that's what I always look for in a sour beer. And it's kind of cool to taste one of these beers from the more traditional Belgian sour beer breweries, if you like, because then you think about this, and then I think about the breweries here in Sweden, like Brouwerij, who have gone and kind of, you know, made their own versions of this style, and you just think, you know, the brewery here in Sweden, Brouwerij, they're actually doing pretty damn well, I have to say, because this the smoothness and things you get from their beers is very similar to these original ones. I always think that's kind of cool when you go back and try you know, the originals when it comes to different beer styles. So it's really cool actually to try Fontaine and then think about the other sour beer breweries that I've tried and just think how influential this particular brewery's been on others. So yeah, this is really nice. Let's try and break this flavour down a little bit then. You do need the one thing I would say about this beer is you do need a few sips just to let your mouth adjust to this so that you can kind of take everything in. So as we said earlier, this beer has a really kind of, it does have a good little bit of a sharp impact to it, but pretty much a lot of sour beers are going to have that. So with this one, you can just feel that lemony tartness just come in just on the inside of the edge of your tongue. It just almost attacks your palate a little bit, but then it smooths out and gives you this lovely aftertaste to the beer. You can feel that the middle of your palate is just blanketed with this kind of smooth, white bready, wheaty kind of quality. You can feel slightly more in the centre of your palate. You've got a thicker, doughy, bready quality in there, which is nice. The palate does dry out a little bit in the middle the further you go into the aftertaste, and you get some of the grainy notes out there, but it does start to evolve again and just lean a little bit more towards that kind of smooth, wheaty quality, to be honest. Yeah, it really does lean towards that, but the way that the malt base and the smoothness you get from the malt base with this one, the way that it just smooths out is very, very nice. There's a little, as I said, there's a little touch of a biscuity sweetness in the middle of the palate for me, and you can just feel when that biscuity sweetness starts to come out and you focus on it a little bit, I'm just feeling that the rest of the palate just kind of dries out a little bit, and you almost get a little touch of a kind of grainy quality to this beer as well in that regard. So it's an interesting transition of flavours in this one. There's a hell of a lot going on in this. I do like the way that the malt base comes together in this one. If you come a little bit further forward on the tongue, you almost get a little touch of a slightly woody vibe out of this beer. There is a little touch of a kind of woody element, maybe even a little touch of vanilla. If you go from the very centre of your palate and just come forward a little bit, I'm getting an almost little touch of vanilla quality out of this beer. But quite often with these beers, they're aged in these big oak fodder things, which of course, you know, if you age beers in oak, you are going to get these almost woody, oaky vanilla flavours, and you can pick that out on this beer just towards the front part of your palate there, which is very, very nice. On the hoppy side of things, there's not overly much to report with this beer. In the back corners of the palate, you get a little touch of a kind of nice, almost noble type earthiness to it. But you know, when these beers are aged for so long, you've got beers that are 1 year old, 2 year old, and you know they're undergoing a secondary fermentation, you really are not going to get too much in the way of hoppy qualities to this one. But for me, a little touch of smooth earthiness there. You can feel that spreading forward. It's almost a little touch herbal, but that's another very subtle quality to this beer. But as you come further forward towards the front corners of your palate, you can get a little bit of a floral note, and then round the very front curve of your tongue, it's a little touch lighter and more grassy, I would say. Yeah, I really like how this beer is going together. The only thing I think that puts a lot of people off sour beers is just the real kind of pucker and impact. Because I mean, when I first tried the sour beers, I really wasn't into them at all, to be honest with you. But they seem to have become very, very popular, and the more and more I've had them, I start to enjoy them. But to try one from one of the you know, the old boys, if you like, one of the traditional original Belgian breweries in the style, is very, very cool. And you know, it works. It just works, this beer. It definitely is an acquired taste, to be honest with you. When I think back to what I was drinking in the early days, you know, the pilsners, I was really into the pilsners and the lagers and things. I still love my German traditional beers, but then I start to get more into the IPAs. It really is amazing how your palate can evolve over time. And for me, this beer really does just kind of show, it just shows how you can all focus on different parts of the beer as well. This one's got a really high, sharp impact to it, but then it just smooths out to give you that lovely, more malty quality. So, you know, a huge thumbs up to the guys at Fonteinen for this one. The Oude Geuze is a really quite nice beer, so, you know, big thumbs up to them. So with this one, in terms of the fruity side of the beer, as I say, you've got quite a big, almost lemony, sharp, tart quality. But then the further you go into the aftertaste, it starts to lean a little bit more towards that typical grassy citrus that you get from the hops. But at the same time, you've got a kind of appley. I want to say this beer, you know, has a little bit of a more peary quality to it, to be honest. Maybe even a little touch of apricot, something like that. It's a very light kind of fruity quality that you get from this beer, but it really works with the rest of the flavours. That nice light fruitiness, the grassy and slightly floral freshness, and also the smoothness of the malt base it's just a lovely combination, to be quite honest with you. And it's a great beer. I can really see from trying this original, if you like, why so many other breweries were kind of inspired to have a go at these and play around with them. So yeah, to be honest, this is just a beer that, to look at it retrospectively after trying other sour beers, it's almost like a very humbling experience. It's really cool to go back. It's almost like going home after a very, very long time and seeing all the stuff that you used to, all the places you used to go and drink beers and all this food you used to eat and stuff like that. It's kind of, this beer review is kind of like that for me. This is one that is really interesting. It's almost like a little bit of a nostalgia review actually, because you can see where these sour beer roots are coming from. But it's a beautiful beer, this one, and if you get the chance to try this, I think you very much will enjoy it. So I do need to make the effort on the channel, and this one definitely kind of reinforces that for me. I do need to make the effort on the channel over a little while and get a few more lambics and sours and things like that reviewed. I think I said the same about the Rodenbach beer that I had recently, the Flemish Red Ales. That was a beautiful beer. And then I've got another one here that's an almost legendary status beer from Belgium again that turned out to be very, very nice. So yeah, just if you get the chance to have a go at this beer and you like sour beers, you're really not going to be disappointed by this. I might be stating the obvious there, but if you're trying some of the American sours and things like that from different countries, go back and try the originals, because you'll certainly not be disappointed in these at all. So in terms of the mouthfeel of this one then, I would say to me this is a sort of mid-bodied beer. Carbonation is very, very smooth in this one, leaning towards the oily side of things. I think this is one of the more oily sour beers that I've had, but it's just lovely how it goes together. Like I said, the malt base has a very smooth quality to it, but it leans a little bit more towards the sweetness at certain points. You've got a nice little touch of hoppiness in there. I think you'd be lucky to get about 20 IBUs out of this at most though. Good little bit of sharp tartness, particularly strong on the impact with this one, but quite a lot of sour beers are. And you've got some lovely juicy fruitiness the further you go into the aftertaste as well. It's got a little touch of lemony sharpness to it, but you start to get more kind of apricot-y, peary, apple-y esters out of this beer later on as well. But overall, a beautiful, beautiful beer. It's almost a little bit nostalgic, and it's ironic to say that because I've never tried it before. But when you go back to trying one of the original ones after trying so many modern sour beers, if you like, then this is a very, very cool one to just sit and think about a little bit. So let's leave it at that for this one. This is a beer that I'm very, very happy that I was able to review, so have a go at it for yourselves and just see what you think. So let's leave it at that. Once again, a huge thank you to Chris for making this review possible. A huge thank you to you guys for watching. Please let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Brouwerij, Fonteinen as well, and I'm sure I'll return to these guys beyond the next beer that Chris has already given me. So thank you again for watching. Make sure you check out my social media, like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff, and I will catch you guys very soon. This is the Oude Geuze at 6.3%, the 2017-2018 edition from Brouwerij, Fonteinen in Beersel, just a little bit outside of Brussels in Belgium. Until the next time, Slanje just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Slanje, skål, santé, Proust.